And good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Bill Kelly. It is quiet outside right now. Our live camera showing you nice clear skies. Coming up, we're going to be talking about a big cool down. There is a new warning that is up for parts of Highland County, Adams County, and just a sliver of Pike County. At this point, it does not include Piketon or Waverly. Let's say you're taking a hike, you're walking through the forest, and suddenly there's lightning. Well, the natural reaction might be to find a big old tree and huddle up against it. That is not a good idea for a couple of reasons. You get the melting conditions like we've had over the last couple of days, and then it freezes and this becomes hard, but they come in with the grinders, they grind it all up, so when you look at the actual consistency, it's nice and soft. It's a storm that's moving across with 58-mile-per-hour winds along its leading edge with occasional gusts to 75. You could have that across all of Ohio. It would not be a derecho. What makes it a derecho is it travels at least 250 miles in length. Now, talking about temperatures, point number 4, I think the overall temperature spread, when it's said and done, the average is going to be below normal with a cold snap potentially late in the season. What do I mean by that? Here's some specifics for you. We have 88 around St. Louis, but look, as we go up toward Cleveland, it is much cooler here up to the north. So temperature-wise, I mean, how about Sault Ste. Marie? 66 degrees right now. Then we get into your Thursday. We'll keep it for the first half of the day. We start walking over here into your Friday, Saturday. That's looking really nice. And then we get into Sunday and Monday. We pick up a chance for showers. So I'm taking that off. I can no longer hear you. They're going to take the mic back. I'm going to give it to the producer extraordinaire, Liz Lane. Why put on a bathing suit, right? Here we go.
Oh, maybe he should have taken his shoes off, though. Rainy day. We had some storms overnight. Now, possibility of storms this afternoon or tonight?
Yeah, and it's all sagging south. So the farther south of Interstate 70, you know, we like to have that as a nice little line, the better chance you're going to get over the next few hours for some storms. A couple of those warnings have dropped off that we had earlier, which is very nice. But look at this. We're going to be keeping our eyes on this, and I'm going to show you more in depth the next time we meet in about 30 minutes. This is live pictures from Oklahoma City, where the Storm Prediction Center has issued a PDS, stands for a particularly dangerous situation. It's over 2 full states, and that when they issue those, you can pretty much bank on there being severe weather. But there is a great chance of a pretty widespread tornado outbreak tonight. Very dangerous weather. That does, of course, include Oklahoma City, goes right up into Kansas. And so what you're watching there is from our affiliate KOCO, and they got a live tracker out there eyeballing the storm.
What kind of cloud is that?
That is a cumulonimbus cloud right there.
Yeah, shelf or wall cloud or anything like that?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It looks like there's a little bit of a lowering there, possibly a shelf cloud. It looks like it's pretty far out in the distance, and I can't tell if there's any circulation winding underneath it, but yeah, that is something that over the coming hours will be very interesting. And again, I'll show you the bigger map in just a few minutes so you can see what's going on out there. Let's start with first warning Doppler radar. So what we have going on is a frontal boundary up to the north. Huge difference in temperatures north and south, and that's the primary reason why most, if not all, of these storms are south of Interstate 70. And there is quite a bit of lightning here, and what we'll do is we'll put on the live radar. Let me zoom you down. We had that severe thunderstorm warning earlier for parts of Ross and Hocking County. That has been expired, but look at this cell here, definitely producing some very heavy rainfall and the possibility of hail, cloud-to-ground lightning as well. There is a new warning that is up for parts of Highland County, Adams County, and just a sliver of Pike County. At this point, it does not include Piketon or Waverly. We bring it back to Columbus, and you do see the showers. I'll use this tool right here. And you see some of these yellows and oranges. If we sample it here, you're talking about rainfall rates that are ½ an inch an hour or more. It's the big wet drops. And so that's what we'll be looking at as we go into the next couple of hours. Underneath any of these storms, there's a nice cluster, meteorologically speaking, down along Interstate 71 pushing into Fayette County. Currently not warned, but we'll be keeping our eyes on that. But they're the big wet drops. You're going to drive through. Storms are moving off to the southeast at about 30 miles per hour. There are a couple of things to tell you about. No severe thunderstorm warnings in our area other than that sliver down in Pike County, but there are some flash flood watches for Perry County, back over into sections of Morgan County, and then down to the south into Athens County and areas a little bit farther off to the southeast. We look at our live camera. It's a dark sky. Temperature-wise, we're still very mild, if not warm. I would say it is warm outside in Columbus, 77. Not all that humid right now, but boy, what a difference. 57 in Marion. How about 47 right now in Cleveland? Significantly cooler to the north. And again, that boundary is what's helping aid the lift and keeping the moisture and all the energy to the south. North of it, we don't have it. And that's why if you're watching from Crawford County into Knox County, Coshocton, you're probably going to see nothing at all as we go through the coming hours because this whole thing is pushing down to the south. Once we get past midnight, generally speaking, things really taper off. And so we'll have that storm potential over the next couple of hours. Then tomorrow, a partly to mostly cloudy sky. More sunshine the farther north you go, more clouds the farther south you go. But your day tomorrow looks dry, tomorrow night into Thursday, our next chance of rain. So your forecast for tonight, 50, early showers and storms, tapering off overnight. We're going to go 67 tomorrow with some evening showers and storms. Otherwise, your day is going to be dry. Then Thursday looks very similar to today, just not as warm. We'll have that shower and storm potential, mainly during the afternoon and evening. Then we dry it out on Friday and watch another round work in here for late Saturday into Sunday. 'Tis the season. We're going to be keeping our eyes. Nothing really is overwhelming severe weather-wise here. But again, I'll show you the planes coming up next time.
All right, Bill, thank you. Chief Meteorologist Bill Kelly here now to break down the season with his much-anticipated winter forecast.
You know, outside of what is Bob Kendrick and Yolanda Harris really like, the biggest question I get out there is what is this winter going to be like, especially this time of year? So what we do is we look at a lot of different things. We spend weeks putting together a winter weather forecast. Some of the things we look at: climatology. What is our normal? Where should we be when we look at that? Where do we go for each month? Where do we go for the end of the season when you look at the overall climatology? We, of course, look at history. We can go back and go a year, 5 years, 10, even 100 years. History plays a huge role in putting together a winter weather forecast. We look at what's called the Arctic Oscillation. What are the winds doing up in the polar regions? We also look at what's called the NAO, which is the North Atlantic Oscillation. That has something to do with what's going on in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean. But what really affects our weather big time is whether or not there is an El Nino or La Nina. This year, and by the way, that is warming of the ocean currents in the Pacific. This year, the forecast calling for a weak La Nina year. And so let me show you what La Nina is, and then we'll get into our forecast details. Again, talking about the equator in the Pacific Ocean. We all know if you go down to tropical locations, the ocean water is warm. Well, during La Nina, what happens is there's a big dome of high pressure that develops into the eastern side of the Pacific and an area of low pressure that develops, a pretty strong one, over to the west. Now, air travels from high to low pressure. And so what happens is when that occurs, you get these strong trade winds that kind of like a bathtub swash the water along. Now, as it pushes it off to the west to replace it, we get what's called upwelling. You get water that comes in from down beneath. That cools it down. And so when we have this over a course of time, it is what is called La Nina. There are some patterns to look at. So here's a generalized pattern around the country. During La Nina, typically, you'll get dry and warmer conditions down to the south. Not good for the fire situation for those folks down there. We'll typically see wet conditions here, cold and wet up to the north, and sometimes that jet stream will kind of migrate back and forth. So we take all of this information, we put it together, and we come up with our official winter weather forecast. So with that said, let's head on over here to this camera, and we're going to utilize this technology we have to kind of draw up and give you the forecast. Things that you can actually take with you, not just generalization. So here's what we're looking at. 5 points. First of all, forecast number 1. I think when it's said and done in terms of snowfall, we are looking at normal to above normal snowfall, most of it coming into the second half of the season, and the possibility of getting above average snowfall for the month of March. Typically in March, we'll see about 4 inches of snow. I wouldn't be surprised this year if we had 6, 7, maybe 8 inches or more of snow in March. Now, how much snow are we expecting? Total for us, the normal is 26.7. This year, going to go between about 25 to 35 inches of snow. That is the range that I'm going to put on it this far out. Also, I think it's interesting to note, in terms of having a white Christmas, officially and technically a white Christmas for us, it means an inch of snow or more on the ground on Christmas Day. Typically only happens 1 in 4 years, 25%. I think we have an above average chance to have some snow on the ground at Christmas. So that might be some good news for some of you. Now, talking about temperatures, point number 4, I think the overall temperature spread, when it's said and done, the average is going to be below normal with a cold snap potentially late in the season. What do I mean by that? Here's some specifics for you. I think that we'll see a few of those days here where the low temperature gets below 0. I did not say that last year. I said I don't think we'll have any below 0 days. We didn't. I do think we'll have several of them. And the other thing is 1 or 2 snaps, stretches, where we have temperatures below freezing for a period of 4 or 5 days in a row. We could foreseeably see maybe a 6, 7, 8 day stretch where we don't get above the freezing mark at all. So those are the 5 points, an average to slightly below normal temperature-wise winter, and I think we'll see at or above normal snowfall with those specifics that we just gave. Good news for some, maybe not so for others. We'll meet here in April and see how we do. You're watching Fox 28 News at 10. We'll be right back. Now let's take a minute to talk about lightning and lightning safety. Lightning strikes the U.S. about 25 million times a year, killing roughly 60 people. Now they can happen at any time, but they're most often in the late spring and early summer, generally during the late afternoon and early evenings. Now the best place to be during a thunderstorm is inside of a building away from the windows. But what if there are no buildings nearby? For example, let's say you're out at the park with the kids or a baseball or soccer game and suddenly a thunderstorm develops. Seek shelter immediately. Everything around us, this playground equipment, the trees, the basketball hoops, you are sending a signal, a charge up to the cloud. At the same time, the cloud is sending a signal down as well. If those two things connect, we get lightning, you could be struck, and that could be deadly. In this particular situation, this bathroom would be a relatively safe place to be. You have these nice thick walls, you have a solid roof, all in, not too bad. However, what if you came here and the door is locked? This structure would be the next best thing, because if lightning were to strike this, the energy would go into the roof, into these beams, and down this pillar, right on into the ground. But what if there's no shelters nearby? Let's say you're taking a hike, you're walking through the forest, and suddenly there's lightning. Well, the natural reaction might be to find a big old tree and huddle up against it. But that is not a good idea for a couple of reasons. One, this is the tallest thing here, therefore making it the most susceptible to being struck by lightning. And if that happens, two, the lightning will travel down the electrical energy, and if you're nearby, you could be struck. And three, oftentimes when that occurs, the tree basically explodes, and that could send wood chips right at you. So, what do? Best bet in this scenario would be to find a smaller group of trees in a lower spot with a little bit of a canopy away from the bigger trees. Cover yourself up and hunker down until the storm passes. Or how about this scenario? You're out on the lake or at the beach enjoying a beautiful day, and suddenly a storm develops. Get out of the water immediately. Water is a conductor of electricity, so it doesn't have to strike you directly to be deadly. Of course, buildings and storm shelters are safe places to be during lightning storms, but did you know that a vehicle is actually a safe place to be as well? The reason? If a thunderstorm moves in and a bolt of lightning strikes the car, that energy will go through the body, through the frame, out of the tires, and into the ground. As long as you are not touching the metal on the car, you're in a relatively safe place. And one more, worst case scenario, you're in the middle of a wide open space and your head gets really tingly. If you have long hair, it will stand straight up. That means you're about to be struck by lightning. You will not have time to get to a shelter. So what do? You immediately squat down, you get as low as you can, you stand on your tiptoes. That way, less of your body is touching the ground. The hope is that something around here will intercept that signal. Now, lightning is going to strike very close, but this action may very well save your life. Remember, the basic rule of thumb is if you are close enough to hear the thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning. And that is one of the great tools that we have with First Warning Doppler Radar, Lightning Tracker.
So we're taking weather on the go, and Chief Meteorologist Bill Kelly is out on the slopes at Mad River Mountain. Hey, Bill.
Yeah, we are literally out on the slopes tonight. We are skiing because, of course, it is winter. I know that it's been warm lately, but, you know, we kind of want to give winter a little bit of a kickoff. It is only February, and it is snowing outside here at Bell Fountain. All right, so let's talk about some numbers. Right now, it is definitely feeling winter-like out there. We have temperatures in the 30s. It is 30 degrees in Columbus currently. We have 30 degrees down around Grove City, 31 in Groveport. So everybody below freezing, but when you look at the wind chill, that's the number you need to be focused on because that's what it feels like when you go out. Pioneering new ground here on the Big Half Dozen. We're going to use this green wall, superimpose the maps, no different than we would in the studio, and I'm going to try to climb on there and deliver a weather forecast while rock climbing. So the way that we do that is we have a camera over here, we take this camera, and then we pop the maps on, and why don't I try to climb on some numbers here and give you a weather forecast. All right, so first we're starting out. It is just a gorgeous day out here today, temperature-wise. I mean, how about this? You're doing anything outside, especially active, 79 degrees, the current temperature, winds out of the north at 10, but the big thing here is the dew point. I mean, look at this, 58 degrees. That is dry. And then your 7-day forecast. All right, so here's the deal. We have our 79 tomorrow. There it is. 81 degrees here on our Thursday, and then I'm standing right in front of Friday. Let me flip it around here for you. The thing that we need to watch for here on Friday is the potential for showers and storms because, although not a huge chance, Friday night, the timing's like 4 to 10 p.m., and so we could see some of that affecting red, white, and boom, which is on this Friday night. So let me show you. We're going to take this camera. We, of course, are using this green as our green wall tonight, so we'll start out with our live camera. The Osprey, see the feathers kind of rustling around a little bit. Temperature-wise, it's very comfortable. Yes, it's warm. I mean, we got 86 degrees, but check out the winds. They're out of the west at 20 miles per hour. As we head on into the afternoon, a stray shower or two, we get into the later part of the day, especially tomorrow evening. Now you start seeing some more of these cells develop around around the area. Looking here at the 7-day forecast, we're going to start over here on Wednesday, and of course that's your day tomorrow with that potential for the strong to severe storms. Then we get into your Thursday. We'll keep it for the first half of the day. We start walking over here into your Friday, Saturday. That's looking really nice.